All right, baseball fans, this is then eliminating the Houston Astros video. They lost 3 out of 4 to Atlanta, and these are their stats. They finished 18 and 21. They made some offseason acquisitions. They lose Joe Morgan. Of course, it was going to hurt, but Morgan hit under 200 last year for Houston, which is ridiculous. They got Steve Mangori. That was a good sign. A great closer, 12 saves, 270 earned run average. They traded for Dave Roberts, who had a promising card for the Padres with a 2.10 ERA, but ooh, woof. 4-9. A lot of decisions for the Ace, giving him lots of chances to lower the ERA. He could not. 6.24, 169. You're pretty much toast at that point if your ace is getting knocked around. But to the credit of this team, the rest of the pitching staff was okay. Clay Kirby, Larry Durker. Offensively, they added Wilbur Howard. It's hard to complain about a guy hitting 330. Eventually you'll get Jose Cruz to replace him. Metzger, had a great year. And you see the two stars, Jim Wynn and Cedeno, had the identical hits and at-bats and average. And they probably, if we're looking at it like maybe in a historic sense, we could say, hey, we got a lot of money in a contract. Which one of you guys want this? They probably offered it to Jim Wynn and said, that's not enough. And Cedeno probably said, I'll take it. So they kept Cedeno. They probably had to let Jim Wynn go. So it's looking like a Jim Wynn to the Dodgers and Joe Ferguson to the Astros with extra players tossed in. I think that's part of the trade that went. I do know Joe Ferguson went from the Dodgers, Astros back to the Dodgers, so it'd probably be something like that in the offseason. Bob Watson just hit 248 with a 300 card. Danny Cater, 238 with a 300 card. Frankly, they're lucky to go 18 and 21 because the offense and pitching both underachieved. So with that, let's take a look at rebuilding the Astros. These are the 12 players that are coming back next year. Starting with Bob Watson. Hard to complain here. He can catch, he can play first base, could even play left field for 5 minutes if you wanted to. Most likely he'll be the full-time DH. Ken Suarez is a catcher versus left-handed pitching with a +1 arm. He could be a casualty. You don't really need this guy if you get a full-time catcher like Joe Ferguson. Package him in a deal. This guy's bounced around through a couple teams. Here's Cater. He'll be back with a 3. Look, it's a 313 card. I mean, at 2 positions, corner, third, and first base. No power. But that sounds like exactly what the Astrodome would do to him. This is like the precursor to Enos Cabell without speed, Danny Cater. Wasn't even on the Astros. He was the Yankee and the Red Sox. Well, we got him over here. And here's Helms. So, yeah, he's used to the winning ways of the Cincinnati Reds. But he's going to be subjected to the harsh realities of Houston. Great card, though, 287. Here's another great card. So defense is the way to go if you're Houston. They got a lot of it. Triple on a 17 on 2-7 for Roger Metzger. I think he led Major League Baseball with 14 triples in 73. And here's your outfield presently. So here's Wynn. They could package him in a deal because they're going to protect Cedeno. Magnificent card, but he really was a Dodger in 74. So we're looking at this as being unfair to the Dodgers, actually, not the Astros. The Astros actually gained an extra season out of Wynn that they shouldn't have normally gotten. But that was done to make them a little more competitive. Because they're going, like I said in the game we played, they're going to go into a dark period in the mid-70s. So here's the Wilbur Howard card, best card of his career. He really only played versus righties. He was okay against lefties, but he's about 300, 310 versus righties. Not many double plays, ace stealer, 17 runner. The E rating, by the way, is E1. So he's a 3 E1 with a weak arm, but he's a fine player, really. And they're going to have some pitchers. Here's Dave Roberts, certainly not deserving of a 4-9 record and a 624 earned run average. Played much better with this card. You have to think if he rebounds next year and goes like 7-4, 7-5, the Astros might have a chance. I mean, he had, with the Padres in 71, he had a 2.10 ERA. So he's used to being on, and the 1-loss record's there. He's been on some bad clubs, but this is a winning pitcher in this card. Didn't show it this year, but if he indeed intends to go 17-11, he would have to go 13-2 in his next group of starts. I mentioned Ken Forrest, relief starter, starter relief, reliever, or starter. That's not very good, but he's good against righties. With Larry Dierker not presently here, Clay Kirby and Dick Boswell not presently here, Forrest could be moved into a starting role, or because I don't think he pitches on 3 days rest until like 80-81, but we could make him a number 3 starter. Cosgrove, lefty reliever, could be trade bait because you already have Roberts and Mingori, who you like, and I think part of the Jim Wynn deal will be Claude Osteen. Claude Osteen goes from the Dodgers to the Astros, so it could be Claude Osteen and Joe Ferguson for Jim Wynn, something like that. So he could be part of that package just to move a lefty. So here's Joe Niekro. He actually was a Brave, played with his brother in 74. Extra player card, learns the knuckleball, doesn't really get control of it until the later part of the decade when he's a starter, wins 20 games. Here he's still just a reliever. Good enough card, and a righty gets lefties out. That's pretty cool. And this is the Mingori card. He's had better cards. Mingori used to have cards with an ERA below 2. This card played very well, even though you get the extra base hits over there you don't like. Still played well as a relief 3. 282 ERA, and he played with 270. And I think he was 12 for 12 on save attempts. He was very good. So really, you know, the pieces are here with Houston. The question is, can they get enough young players and keepers to get to step 1, get to 500, and then from there, see if you can make a playoff run. Let's take a look now at the 8 players to be kept, waived, or retired for Houston. All right, baseball fans, we're going to take a look at the 8 Astro players, see if they're coming or going. Beginning with Gene Alley. Gene Tornado Alley was a Pirate, would have gotten a World Series ring with them in 71 at age 30. He's out of baseball by 73. His whole career is with Pittsburgh. But he became a casualty of that loaded Pittsburgh roster where you can't protect everybody. And they're protecting, you know, the Stargills and Hebners and Olivers and Clementes and so forth. They had no room to protect Alley. And he was swooped in by the Astros to back up Metzger with a 72 card. 73, one more year with a 203 average with Pittsburgh. You can put him on waivers if Strat makes his card. We can check that out by going to Gary's roster page for 73 and see if there is for Houston, for Pittsburgh rather, a Strat card for Gene Alley. And there it is. Here's the Pirates infielders right there, Gene Alley. So, good start. You can plug him in. This is what we do. Keep, waive, and retire columns. Blue, $10,000 keeper. Yellow, $100 waiver. And the red is $1 retiree. So Gene Alley is going to be put on waivers, $100. Also, in this column shows you the year and the player number within the year. So you can actually identify from this list the 8 players that need to be analyzed. Next up is Cedeno. Well, we'll just go over here and make him a keeper. He ain't going anywhere. But let's take a look closer and see what a fun. So let's go look at Cedeno's career. My favorite Astro, I think, between him and Dierker. Not sure which one of the two. Okay, here we go. went to the Reds later in his career. So there he is. So we just had this 72 card. Gold Glove, 6th on the MVP list. 921 OPS. 39 doubles. Wow. So we have 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're to pick one of those cards. And it seems like it'll be 73. That's 100 OPS higher than the remaining years. And a Gold Glove. And 25 home runs. 56 stolen bases. Pretty much a repeat of 72. We don't have to make that determination yet, but it's nice to forecast it. So that's good news for Houston. So Daniel will still be pretty close to his level he just played at. Next player, Johnny Edwards. And we could be getting close to the end for Johnny Edwards because we're going to have a new catcher, we believe, coming to town, Joe Ferguson. Big man, 6'4", catcher. You see the Reds, Cardinals, and then he finishes up with Houston, 73, 74. So he played these cards, played a few of these cards actually. The one we just did had a 732 OPS, which would have been the highest OPS since 1965. So, whew, that was he got 36 MVP votes in 69. He's with the Astros in 73 and 74 as a 35-year-old catcher. Might have an opportunistic split. Probably, yeah. Houston's going to make, Strat's going to make that card for 73. We'll double check though. Johnny Edwards is right here. Skip Jutsy. So the card is being made, and he's Houston's. Why don't we play it safe and make him a keeper? Because it's always easier to then decide later on you want to put him on waivers and vice versa. So let's make him a keeper. And if we get, if he becomes the 5th Beatle, we'll just tell him Ringo took a spot, something like that. So next guy up is Roger Freed. And unfortunately for the Astros, they're just going to miss out on that brilliant 77 Roger Freed card by 1 year. We'll show you the unfortunate situation that they're in. So here is Freed, 72. The card we just played, 740. 74 card doesn't exist. 76 card doesn't exist either. He is out of the sport. Can't keep him, waive him, retire him, or I gotta retire him. So that's just the way it went. And he'll come back to baseball in 2 years in the 74, 5, 6, 7 season. So you'll see him again. If you're still out there, folks, you'll see Roger Freed in my league in 2026. Because he'll be bringing a 398 card to the sport, folks. That's a wild card. One of the wildest cards Strat ever made. Worth the price of admission. Worth buying the 1977 set. Which is one of my favorite sets anyway. If you can get a 77 set of any of the years in the 70s, that's the year to get. Even the lousy players have decent cards, in my opinion. But yeah, it's worth looking at that card and the Moto card, Manny Moto. But anyway, Freed's got to be retired. No way to get around that. All right, the 5th hitter is Doug Rader, and we know he'll be a keeper. I'll pencil it in now as well. I suppose he could be traded, but probably not. It seems like he's got a really solid glove, and they have good defense here. They've got Metzger and Cedeno and Tommy Helms. So you want to keep the good defense of Doug Rader, even if his bat's not great. These Gold Gloves, you want these gloves around. So you got your choice of Gold Gloves coming up. Similar offense. Not much to report. He's a keeper, and that's just about fitting the appropriate year in. We're going to move on. Next guy is Durker. Larry Durker. Oh boy, folks. So, yeah. He had a magnificent 69 season. All-Star MVP votes. This was a great card. 2.33 ERA, 305 innings, 102 WHIP. We played that card for four years. Then we moved into the 71 card. Then we moved into the 72 card. Now we got to be careful here. We got 73. That card doesn't exist. He got hurt. 74, his ERAs will run lower than 75. And 76, he's still pretty good, but can't pitch on 3 days rest. So, yeah, he's coming back with one of those 3 years. So we're just making him a keeper. And just like that, we got our 4 Beatles. And who was it? Johnny Edwards is nervously watching his phone, waiting for a phone call to see if he made the cut or not. Next guy, Clay Kirby, intriguing player. Had some success in San Diego, and then the Reds happened to go, oh, that looks interesting. Why don't you come to Cincinnati? We can get you some more run support than you had in San Diego. So we had some nice cards here. 71 and 72 Kirby. These are really nice cards. 3 days rest. I mean, he was part of the expansion 3 days rest. That's all he did. Just missed it in 73. ERA ballooned. So Cincinnati said, hey, change of scenery. 74 Kirby in Cincinnati. Look at this. 328, 130 whip. Then 75, not so much. And yeah, kind of loses it after that. But you get one more good year. 74 Kirby. But he's with Cincinnati. So this is the dilemma they have. I think he might just be too talented for waivers, meaning that try trading him first. And of course, nobody will want to trade for him because they'll be like, why should we trade for him when you're going to have to put him on waivers when we get him for free? But at least now, make him a keeper. And then you can work some deals in the offseason. This is how you move on Jim Wynn. And you package guys. Like you package Johnny Edwards and Jim Wynn to the Dodgers. You could have Johnny Edwards platoon with Steve Yeager in LA, for instance. Something like that. All right, last but not least, Dick Bosman. Let's take a look at this. We've had a fun little run with moving Dick Bosman to different teams and different leagues recently. Whether he wanted to be traded or not, we've bounced him all over the place. He's been on like 3 teams in 3 years. So the Senator, Ranger, during the move, Cleveland, Oakland. While he's pitched for Texas, we traded him to the Cincinnati Reds. He got a World Series ring, then they cut him. Then they sent him to Texas, then Texas sent him to Houston. So he's bounced all over the place. Actually, Minnesota drafted him and then traded him for Bill Parsons. So he's been on another team, but never actually played any games for him. So here we are. Frankly, this all stems from this brilliant 1969 where he led the league in ERA with a 2.19 ERA. So that card was awesome. And then since then, it's really just a couple seasons on 3 days rest. And then he starts to convert to a long reliever. We'll have a nice season, I think, in 75 with a 110 whip. So that's the season coming up. He's a starter. That's the card to get, folks. I mean, unless they gummed up the stats by combining Cleveland and Oakland together. But 75 Oakland performance, he's got a 110 whip. Still has a 117 whip, even if you add up the Cleveland performance. So he'll be in the league. You technically could get waivers for him as well. Yeah. 73. Okay, we've got to check and see if the 73 card exists if you were going to put him on waivers. If you were forced into putting on waivers, could you do it? Before we decide we want to keep him and trade him. So, 73, he splits time between Texas and Cleveland. We need a Strat-O-Matic card. If Strat-O-Matic doesn't make the card, I can't put him on waivers. Texas and Cleveland. Looking for Dick Bosman. Not with Texas. Not with Cleveland. Let's go look at the extra players. Dick Bosman, there's his card with Cleveland. So he gets waivers. But I think we're going to get greedy here. We're going to put keeper down. Like I said, we're trying to get Houston better. They've really had a bad year. So now they have 6 guys they want to keep, but they can only keep 4. So that means it's work the phones in the off season, start packaging guys and deals. If you end up keeping Cedeno because you like him, Doug Rader, I would say you want to keep those 2 guys. You want to keep Durker and either Kirby or Bosman, but not both. So you trade the other keepers. And the way you do that is you'll trade a keeper and you'll pick up either a waived or retired player, and you'll balance the trade with a player from the years 73, 74, or 75. It'll be a flop of players where you'll get a better version of a player. For instance, like 73 Ken Suarez isn't very good, so you'll put him and say you'll put 73 Suarez and Clay Kirby in the deal and get a really nice 73 card in return, because you don't have room to keep Kirby, as an example of how the trade would work. But that's it today, folks, for eliminating the Houston Astros. I hope you're enjoying these elimination analysis, and we'll see you next time.